How long have you been carrying burdens that were never meant to belong to you alone? Always being the strong one, always being the listener, always being the person others depend on. Yet when your own heart feels heavy, there seems to be no one asking how you're really doing. People see your smile, but they don't see the exhaustion behind it. They see your strength, but they don't see the silent tears. They see what you do for others, but they don't see what it costs you. And perhaps tonight, you're wondering how much longer you can keep holding everything together. But God wants you to hear this. He knows why you've been carrying so much. He understands the pressure you've been under. He sees the battles you've hidden, the worries you've never spoken aloud. And even when no one else notices your pain, He has never looked away, because the strength you've shown others has never gone unseen. And tonight, God wants to remind you that you don't have to carry it all by yourself anymore. Perhaps you've spent so much time taking care of everyone else that you've forgotten what it feels like to be taken care of yourself. People come to you because they know you'll listen. They know you'll show up. They know you'll sacrifice your own comfort to help someone else feel better. And you've done it willingly. You've carried responsibilities others walked away from. You've stayed strong during family struggles. You've comforted people while quietly dealing with your own pain. You've encouraged others while your own heart was running on empty. And over time, being strong became part of who you are. So much so that people stopped asking if you were okay. They simply assumed you would always be fine, always capable, always available, always able to handle one more burden, one more crisis, one more disappointment, one more difficult season. But there are moments when even the strongest people feel tired, moments when your heart longs for someone to say, "You don't have to carry this alone," moments when you wish someone could see beyond your smile, beyond your routine, beyond the image of strength you've worked so hard to maintain, because strength can become lonely, especially when everyone depends on you. But few people truly understand what you're carrying. There have been nights when you sat quietly with thoughts you couldn't share, moments when you worried about your family, your finances, your future, your health, your responsibilities, and while others slept peacefully, your mind continued working, planning, worrying, trying to solve problems that seemed too heavy for one person to bear. Sometimes you've wondered if anyone really notices, if anyone truly understands what it costs to keep showing up day after day. But God notices. He sees the effort. He sees the sacrifices. He sees the weight you've been carrying. He knows the prayers you've whispered when nobody else was listening. He knows the tears you've held back because you felt you needed to stay strong. And tonight, He wants you to know that your weariness does not make you weak. It simply means you've been carrying more than you were ever intended to carry by yourself. And perhaps that's why you're here right now, because God understands what others cannot fully see. He understands the hidden exhaustion, the silent pressure, the emotional weight that comes from always being the one everyone else leans on. And He wants you to know that He has been beside you through every difficult moment, even when it felt like nobody else understood. God has never expected you to carry every burden alone, even though you've become accustomed to being the dependable one, the reliable one, the person everyone turns to. God never intended for your strength to become your prison. He knows how tired you are. He knows the moments when you smiled simply because you didn't want anyone to worry about you. He knows the conversations you replay in your mind, the responsibilities that follow you into the night, the fears you keep hidden because you feel others need your courage more than you need comfort. But God sees beyond what others see. He sees the person beneath the responsibility, the heart beneath the strength, the soul beneath the routine, and He has never confused your ability to endure with an expectation that you should never need rest. There have been times when you felt forgotten, times when you wondered if anyone would ever notice how much you've sacrificed, but God has been paying attention to every unseen act of love, every late-night prayer, every difficult decision. Every moment you chose to keep going when you felt emotionally drained. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has gone unnoticed. And even when people misunderstood you, overlooked you, or assumed you could handle everything on your own. God remained near, closer than your fears, closer than your worries, closer than the burdens you've been carrying. Perhaps tonight is not about becoming stronger. Perhaps tonight is about allowing yourself to believe that you do not have to hold the entire world together. You do not have to solve every problem. You do not have to carry every person's expectations. You do not have to prove your worth by constantly sacrificing your own peace. God is inviting you to release what has become too heavy, to breathe again, to rest again, to remember that being loved by God does not require endless striving. You are already seen, already known, already valued, already deeply understood. And while others may only recognize what you do, God recognizes who you are, a person who has given so much, a person who has loved deeply, a person who has remained faithful through difficult seasons. And now, God wants to remind you that He is carrying you too, even when you don't feel it, even when you can't see it, even when your heart is weary. His presence has never left, His compassion has never faded, and His understanding of your pain is deeper than words could ever express. You are not alone tonight. You never have been, and the God who knows exactly why you've been carrying so much is also the God who wants to help you lay those burdens down. Tonight, may your heart find rest in this truth. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not walking through this season alone. God sees every tear, every memory, every silent prayer, and every longing hidden within your heart. He knows the love you miss. He knows the people you wish were near. And He knows the strength it has taken for you to keep going. May His peace fill the quiet places within you. May His comfort surround you during lonely moments. May His love remind you that your life still has purpose, beauty, and meaning. There are still blessings ahead, still smiles ahead, still connections ahead, still reasons to hope. So rest tonight knowing this. You are deeply loved, you are endlessly valued, and even when the world feels distant, God remains close. He has never left you. He is with you now, and He will walk beside you through every chapter, still waiting to unfold. But what if this season is not about teaching you how to become stronger? What if it is about teaching you that you no longer have to carry everything alone? For years, you've been surviving, pushing through exhaustion, showing up even when your heart was weary, giving your energy, your time, your compassion, and your strength to everyone around you. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that you were never created merely to survive. You were created to live with peace, to breathe without feeling guilty, to rest without feeling selfish, to trust without feeling responsible for every outcome. Perhaps the turning point begins here. Not with a dramatic change in circumstances, not with every problem disappearing overnight, but with a quiet realization. You do not have to be everything for everyone. You do not have to carry every burden. You do not have to solve every crisis. You do not have to hold together every relationship. And you do not have to sacrifice your own well-being in order to prove your love, because love without rest eventually becomes exhaustion. Compassion without boundaries eventually becomes depletion. Strength without renewal eventually becomes weariness. And God does not want you to live in constant survival mode. He wants you to experience His peace, the kind of peace that remains even when life feels uncertain, the kind of peace that reminds you that God is working even when you cannot see it, the kind of peace that allows you to release control and trust Him with what you cannot change. Tonight, perhaps God is inviting you to stop asking, "How much more can I carry?" and begin asking, "What can I place into God's hands? What fears can you release? What expectations can you surrender? What worries have you been holding that God has already promised to carry for you?" Because something beautiful happens when you stop carrying every burden by yourself. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to sleep more peacefully. You begin to realize that your identity is not found in being endlessly available. Your identity is found in being deeply loved. And when that truth settles into your heart, everything begins to shift. You no longer see rest as weakness. You see it as trust. You no longer see asking for help as failure. You see it as wisdom. You no longer see yourself as someone who must hold the world together. You begin to understand that God has been holding you together all along. And maybe that's the breakthrough you've needed most. Not another opportunity, not another responsibility, not another demand, but permission to rest, permission to breathe, permission to stop carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. Because God knows why you've been carrying so much. And tonight, He is lovingly reminding you that you were never meant to carry it alone. For so long, you may have defined yourself by what you provide for others, the helper, the caregiver, the protector, the dependable one, the person who always shows up, the person who always says yes, the person who finds a way, even when feeling exhausted inside. And while those qualities are beautiful, they were never meant to become your entire identity, because before you were someone others could lean on, you were already loved by God. Before you carried responsibilities, you were already valuable. Before you sacrificed for others, you were already seen. Before you became the strong one, you were already His. Somewhere along the journey, perhaps you began believing that your worth depended on how useful you were, that people needed you to stay strong, that you had to keep proving yourself, that resting meant falling behind, that slowing down meant disappointing people. But God is speaking a different truth over your life tonight. You do not have to earn His love. You do not have to perform for His acceptance. You do not have to carry endless burdens to prove that you matter. Your value has never been measured by how much pain you can endure. Your worth has never depended on how many problems you can solve. And your purpose has never been defined by how many people rely on you. God sees more than your responsibilities. He sees your heart. He sees the kindness you've given when you had little left to give. He sees the compassion you've shown while silently carrying your own struggles. He sees the faith you've held onto through seasons that felt overwhelming. And He delights in who you are, not simply in what you do. You are not called to live in constant exhaustion. You are not created to pour from an empty cup forever. You are not expected to carry the emotional weight of everyone around you. You are allowed to receive care. You are allowed to receive comfort. You are allowed to receive peace. You are allowed to let others support you. Most importantly, you are allowed to let God carry what has become too heavy for your shoulders. Tonight, God is restoring your identity, not as someone who must always be strong, but as someone who is deeply loved, not as someone who must always hold everything together, but as someone who is safely held by Him, not as someone who has to keep proving their worth, but as someone whose value was established long before the burdens ever appeared. You are more than your responsibilities, more than your sacrifices, more than your struggles, more than your exhaustion. You are cherished, you are known, you are understood, you are precious in God's sight. And perhaps for the first time in a long while, you can allow yourself to believe this truth. You do not have to keep carrying everything. You do not have to keep pretending you're okay. You do not have to keep surviving alone, because God understands what others cannot fully see. He knows what you've endured. He knows what you've hidden. And He is gently reminding you that you are worthy of rest, worthy of peace, and worthy of being cared for too. Imagine what life could feel like if you no longer carried every burden by yourself. Imagine waking up without immediately feeling the weight of everyone's expectations resting on your shoulders. Imagine taking a deep breath without guilt. Imagine experiencing peace without feeling that you have forgotten your responsibilities. That is the kind of breakthrough God desires for you, not merely a change in circumstances, but a change in the way you live, a change in the way you see yourself, a change in the way you carry the challenges of life. Because true breakthrough often begins inside the heart long before it becomes visible in the world around us. It begins when you stop believing that your strength must come entirely from you. It begins when you understand that asking for help is not weakness. That resting is not failure. That slowing down does not mean giving up. For so long, you have carried burdens because you love deeply. You care deeply. You want the people around you to be safe, supported, and happy. But God never intended for your compassion to become a source of constant exhaustion. He intended for love to flow from a heart that is continually renewed, not continually depleted. Tonight, perhaps your breakthrough is learning to release what does not belong to you, to release the worries you cannot control, to release the outcomes you cannot determine, to release the pressure to always have the answers, to release the belief that everything depends on you, because everything does not depend on you. And that realization can be incredibly freeing. God is already working in places you cannot see. He is caring for people you worry about. He is guiding situations you cannot fix. He is moving within circumstances that seem beyond your reach. You are not alone in carrying the weight of life. You never have been. And maybe this is the season where God teaches you a new kind of strength, not the strength that comes from enduring endless pressure, but the strength that comes from trust, the strength that comes from surrender, the strength that comes from knowing you are deeply loved, even when you are tired, even when you need rest, even when you have nothing left to give, because your value has never depended on your ability to carry everything. Your value comes from who you are in God's eyes. And in His eyes, you are precious, you are seen, you are understood, you are not forgotten. And as you begin to release the burdens that have weighed down your heart, something beautiful starts to happen. Peace returns, hope returns, joy returns, and little by little, the person beneath all the responsibility begins to breathe again. Perhaps that is the breakthrough God has been preparing all along. Not another burden, not another demand, but freedom. Freedom from constant pressure, freedom from endless striving, freedom to trust that God is strong enough to hold what has become too heavy for you. And in that freedom, your heart can finally find rest. Tonight, may your heart finally find permission to rest. You do not have to carry every burden. You do not have to solve every problem. You do not have to remain strong every moment of every day. God sees what others cannot see. He understands the weight you've been carrying. He knows the tears you've hidden, the worries you've held inside, and the exhaustion you've tried to ignore. And He is inviting you to lay those burdens down. May peace replace the pressure you've been living under. May hope rise where weariness once settled. May comfort fill the places that have felt empty for far too long. Remember this tonight. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. You are not expected to carry life by yourself. You are deeply loved, deeply known, and deeply understood by the God who has walked beside you through every difficult season. So breathe deeply, rest gently, and trust that the one who knows why you've been carrying so much is also the one who will help carry you through. You are safe in His hands. And tonight, that is enough.